dawn of the final day. Good morning, Mario. Good morning, Switch fans. Hope you're all doing fantastic out there. Let me point out that I've been wearing this one sweatshirt in like every video lately. It's freaking cold finally in Phoenix. This is my favorite hoodie. I only wear it inside, so it's like my clean, cozy, comfy hoodie. Don't hate, all right? Instead, look at the lovely Switch 2 Joy-Con in comparison to the Switch 1 Joy-Con. And know that today's video contains new details and news as we lead up to the reveal of Switch 2, as well as information on upcoming Switch 1 games. So hey, there's more news in store. We've got a lot of updates that don't just revolve around waiting patiently for tomorrow morning. But what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hit that like button if you're excited for tomorrow morning. Let me show you that Tom Warren is celebrating Wednesday, January 15th. It's also Happy Switch 2 Eve to all who celebrate. We're still on track for this announcement to be made tomorrow morning. Many believe that there will be a tweet later tonight from Nintendo themselves. And so I should be back with another video where Nintendo officially confirms the release time of this Switch 2 reveal and trailer and the exact format of how they're going to drop it. That should happen this evening. From the upload time of this video, probably like 4 hours, 5 hours-ish, but we'll have to see. I also want to show you that Nintendo did make their own post yesterday. Okay, this is not the post everyone's been waiting for. Every post Nintendo makes is now being like hyper analyzed and given a hyper sigh because it's not the post we want. This one is interesting though. On the eve of the Switch 2 announcement, Nintendo tweeted, "We have confirmed the existence of unauthorized services that replace functions such as online play for the Wii U, which ended service on April 9th of last year. Please refrain from using such services as they may pose unexpected security risks." So they're saying, dude, don't use any of those third-party, alternate, maybe semi-illegal ways to keep your Wii U online, because we took the Wii U offline almost a year ago, 9 months ago, and we really don't want you playing Wii U games, especially because we're about to announce the Switch 2. And the rumors are that the Switch 2 interface is kind of similar to the Wii U. And they don't really want anything to do with the Wii U right now, yet they're the ones tweeting about the Wii U, and they're giving us details about the Wii U and saying, like, don't mess with the Wii U. Apparently, they're very, very mad. Apparently, they're really upset about this. I had read for a while that Nintendo didn't really care about the leaks in the way that they were not going to adjust their plans, but that doesn't mean that they can't be mad. They're not adjusting their plans, but they're apparently very, 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 very upset because the sense of surprise is so valuable to the company. And I fully believe that Nintendo does like to, well, first off, Nintendo believes like they're like the smartest person in existence. You know, like they think that everything they have is like, whoa, like everyone's going to be so shocked and awed. And I think that's why a lot of times the directs fall flat, because Nintendo is like, oh, if we give our stamp to this game, people are going to think it's cool. And we're like, sometimes no, that game doesn't look cool. This indie world is going so slow. The pacing is horrible. And where are our big new games? So I understand that Nintendo's upset because they think that their surprise is like the greatest surprise. And I mean, in a way, I feel like they did this to themselves. I know leaks are always difficult, and in many cases, leaks aren't good. But like, we've been waiting almost 8 years for this Switch 2, and Nintendo has wound down the Switch 1 for a while. They mentioned the existence of the next console last year, and then they're like, oh, we'll reveal it before the end of the fiscal year. They could have revealed it last fall. They chose not to. You could have given us something. You could have given us a tease, an image, a picture, a silhouette, something. These leaks probably still would have come, but you would have had a chance to get out ahead of them. Now, though, Nintendo waiting till the last possible minute, the last hour of their announcement, things are going to leak out. It always happens. People are super hungry for Nintendo information. And Nintendo themselves, the executives, all the way up to Miyamoto and Furukawa, they know that fans have been wanting this. They know, yes, the average Walmart fan maybe doesn't care and they're just playing their Switch and they'll wait patiently, but the fans that are Nintendo hardcore, Nintendo nostalgic fans, they've been waiting and wanting this. But you'll be waiting a long time for a new Pokemon Switch 2 game. This is interesting to me. This is Jeff Grubb claims that the games shown in the next Pokemon Presents, Pokemon Direct, will be for the original Switch. Now, this is really, really illuminating because there were some people that thought, okay, if Nintendo saves Pokemon Legends ZA for mid to late next year, this year, they can release it on Switch 2. And we do know that there's going to be a Pokemon Presents on Pokemon Day in late February. Jeff Grubb is saying that it's not going to have anything for Switch 2. I did hear that everything in that Pokemon Direct will be positioned as these games are Switch 1 games. They will work on Switch 2, but there will not be anything that is obviously made for Switch 2. Very interesting. And this could signal maybe a scary, confusing, dumb way that some companies that make games for Switch go forward. Or maybe it's just the way the Pokemon Company does because they care the most about huge sales and they know that their games can still sell even when they run horribly. I'm looking at you, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I love that game, but I acknowledge that the performance is pitiful. Pokemon Company says, we're okay with it. We don't really care. We're going to keep making Switch 1 games because that is where the majority of the audience is. And some had hoped that they would release dual versions, right? Like a Pokemon Legends ZA for Switch 1 and a Pokemon Legends ZA for Switch 2. But this looks like that's not the case. Alas, there is still a silver hopeful lining here, which is just because there's nothing obviously made for Switch 2, just because there's not a dedicated version for Switch 2, does not mean that these games can't take advantage of the Switch 2, right? So like putting Pokemon Legends ZA into your Switch 1, I can't see a world where you don't have some performance issues, right? It's going to perform not perfectly. But pop that cart into your Switch 2, it should inherently run better, even if it's not specifically tuned for the Switch 2, even if it's not a specific version for the Switch 2, given the far superior technology inside the Switch 2, that Pokemon Legends ZA cartridge should play better on the Switch 2 as long as it's allowed to do so. And I think it will be. So this sort of seems like doom and gloom, like they're not making anything that even acknowledges the Switch 2, but given sort of the iterative nature of consoles where we're at, given the DLSS technology, given how I assume the Switch 2 is going to handle many ports and many third-party titles and games like this from first-party companies, or second-party? I think they're first-party. I think the game Pokemon Company is second-party, but I don't know. Forgive me. They're a Nintendo game, and it could be weird if they decide to only release it as Switch 1, but I think this is going to be the case for a couple of games, but not most. I think the Pokemon Company is in a weird spot because they love to release to the masses. And from their standpoint and philosophy, there's no point in releasing a brand new Pokemon game to an audience that maybe encapsulates 5 to 7 million players. They would much rather release this to an audience of 155 to 157 million players, combining the Switch 1 and Switch 2. And you best believe your butt that as a Switch 2 owner, I'm going to buy Pokemon Legends ZA, even if the cartridge doesn't have the special notch that indicates it's a Switch 2 exclusive. This game should run and play better on the Switch 2, and it's not very surprising that the Pokemon Company is not busting out the gates with the Switch 2 title, as they would like to let the waters rise. They want to let this system settle in, they want it to get out there, they want it to spread, and then they will pump out their Pokemon games yearly like they did with Switch 1. 2026 seems like a much better date for a new Pokemon game that is either exclusive to Switch 2 or at least tuned obviously for Switch 2, but maybe at that point still also works on Switch 1. Look, I think if Pokemon Legends ZA is a shining star of, hey, it's going to sell a boatload of copies, it plays acceptably on Switch 1 and better on Switch 2, then I think the Pokemon Company will continue to release games of this nature for years. We've seen it even with PlayStation 5, we've seen it with Xbox Series consoles. There's not much incentive to make your game a Switch 2 exclusive unless you're so aggressively taking advantage of the Switch 2 technology and you want to be tantalizing to the audience that just spent $400 on a new system. I think Nintendo will have plenty of their own games like Mario Kart and like Mario 3D that are Switch 2 exclusives that do require the upgrade, but Pokemon Company is probably going to lay in limbo for a while now, and they're probably going to allow their games, maybe for many years, to coexist on both platforms. And I think that they will start to tune them more specifically for Switch 2, but don't be surprised if either there's two versions or the game is just on both and runs better on the Switch 2. So it won't be maximized out like a Switch 2 dedicated game could be, but it should perform better on Switch 2. Basically what you're going to get is Switch 1 graphics with better performance on Switch 2. That's my anticipation. That's what I would fully go into Pokemon Day expecting this year. Grubb's calling it Pokemon Direct. It's the Pokemon Presents. I don't think this is doom and gloom. I think given the Pokemon Company and how they operate and what they're targeting and how they never fix Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, this is like par for the course. This is what we should expect out of them. And, you know, I can't say I blame them. I think their games are so mass market that why would you possibly sacrifice a potential extra 20, 30 million sales when you could get them on both? And, you know, Pokemon Presents is going to happen before the Switch 2 is out. So there's not even a Switch 2 out there. So they're going to want to appeal to the current audience, the Scarlet Violet audience, the Sword and Shield audience, you know, the Snap audience, the Pokemon, all the Pokemon games, right? Like everybody that played a Pokemon game on Switch is going to be interested to see what's next from the Pokemon Company. And if you just say, you have to get a Switch 2 to play this. I think a lot of them would get a Switch 2, but there would be some that wouldn't and would just happily replay their already existing Pokemon games. There's quite the catalog on the Nintendo Switch 1. There's, remakes. There's multiple generation of new titles on the Switch. Who knows if they continue to do sort of the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl lines. There's ways for people to get Pokemon. They can play Pokemon, the trading card, Pokemon Pocket on their phone. They can play Pokemon Go. I'm sure Nintendo and Pokemon are making a money-motivated move here. Like, we can appeal to so many more players, and this is going to be a much better deal. So it does make sense from that standpoint. Now, we're also getting a new Switch online game trial in Europe. If you don't give a hoot about the Switch 2, you can go play Iconoclast, which is going to be starting on January 15th. That's today, and running through January 21st. No announcement of a US game, but we should get that later this week. I'm not sure if it's going to be Iconoclasts, which is kind of a Metroidvania with an emphasis on really cool bosses, or if it's going to be a different title. But I know, it's funny that this is popping up now, but Nintendo is still keeping on. They're keeping on. They're talking about Wii U. Nintendo's making announcements of their freaking Donkey Kong stuff. I think they posted, this art book for Metroid Prime 1 through 3. There was a post about Mario Tennis, but I also want to address the specs that came out. There were some clock speeds and different specs that leaked out for the Switch 2, and I don't really feel it's healthy or valuable to address those in really any way. No matter what the numbers say, the Switch 2 is going to run better than you think it's going to run and better than Doom posters say it's going to run. The numbers, the clock speeds, the specs, I don't think they mean a ton because this system is going to get more oomph out of its might than you might believe, because of the fact that it is proprietary hardware, because of the fact that it's tuned specifically for the Switch, and because of the fact that it has DLSS and technology that's going to up the ante on games to help them perform and look better than they should. I don't think there's anything we can garner from a list of numbers that will be helpful in terms of what the games are going to be like, what they're going to look like. We know the general category, right? PS4. That's kind of what you're thinking about now. PS4 with the ability to push beyond that because the system's as powerful as a PS4, and then it can push beyond with DLSS and other technologies and the proprietary hardware. So that's all you really need to know. I don't think it does us any good to go over the numbers. I think it's frankly boring. I think it means nothing, and I think all it does is make people think that the system is going to be weaker and worse than it is, which it's not. It's just not. The system's not going to be bad. It's not going to be weak. It's not going to be terrible. Is it going to be a handheld PS5? No, it's not. But nobody should have ever expected that. It's going to be a handheld PS4 with some bells and whistles and some fine-tuning that make it run even better, look even better, and you're going to have impressive games. Like when you play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you're going to be like, wow, this is great on the go. And when you play Nintendo-dedicated games like 3D Mario and Mario Kart, you're going to be like, wow, these look better than Nintendo games have ever looked, which is kind of all we want. A significant visual distinction and upgrade from Switch 1 is stupendous to me. It doesn't have to be PS5. It doesn't have to be 4K 200 frames per second. It doesn't have to have this clock speed or that clock speed or this spec. Just run better, look significantly better, and allow for third parties to come in and port their titles in an efficient and effective way so we can get the Assassin's Creeds, we can get the Metal Gear Solids, we can get the Halo, we can get the Final Fantasies, we can get these titles on the system and not have to worry about a lesser version, waiting 3-4 years down the road, canceled ports, all that yada yada that we dealt with on the Switch. Remember Midnight Suns coming to Switch? Oh, it didn't. Remember Dying Light 2 coming to Switch? Oh, it didn't. Yeah, that's not going to be the case with Switch 2 because it just will be able to run it. So ignore the specs, ignore the clock speeds. We should know about the system tomorrow. We should see this system tomorrow. It's so freaking crazy that this is happening tomorrow, and I can't wait to be there with you. People have said, if it doesn't happen, Nate the Hate has to go into hiding. He's going to lose all credibility. But we got so many people continuing to harp on it is the 16th. It's not just Nate the Hate, right? It's not just leakers. It's people like Tom Warren as well. It's others who have corroborated from Eurogamer and Video Games Chronicle. It's Kit and Krista, if you believe that they still have some knowledge from their tenure at Nintendo. This thing is getting revealed tomorrow. Hopefully we have a tweet tonight so that we're not on pins and needles. I'll be back with another video as soon as it happens to give you guys the latest. And I'm excited to share this momentous occasion with all of you. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being with me through the whole Switch 1 generation. We're about to enter the Switch 2 generation. I'm going to have to throw like a 2 on my logo or something. But in the meantime, everybody, thanks so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, pause out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.